This is Mula, my 2021 Suzuki DR650 that I've been traveling with for nearly 2 years now, over 30,000 kilometers, and I'm currently in Antigua, Guatemala. And I want to show you all the modifications I've made to this bike to make it overland worthy. So I started this trip in Vancouver, British Columbia in September 2023, and I spent a year and a half traveling Mexico, over 15 states, 27,000 kilometers through desert, forest, jungles, mountains, everywhere you can imagine this bike has been, and it has been the most reliable steed I could have ever hoped for. I would choose a DR650 again every time in a heartbeat. The only problems I've had, only major repairs it's needed over 30,000 kilometers of rugged travel has been cleaning the carburetor 2 times. That's basically it. Everything else has just been superficial. And this has just been a super reliable, super capable bike. And I've done a lot of things to it since I bought it. I bought it with 758 kilometers on it. So basically brand new, not a single modification other than these handguards. But yeah, I'm gonna show you everything and separate them into categories. So the first thing I want to talk about is the luggage system. I've got the Rhinowalk 35-liter quick release bags. These are super easy to take off and to put on. They're very similar to the Moscow Moto backcountry bags, but way cheaper, and we got them on Amazon Mexico. So they just come off like that. Super, super convenient, and all because of the slide-on rack technology. This is not what I left Canada with. I left Canada with a Moscow Moto Reckless 80 system. As you can see, I got like the little strap peg here still, but we ended up getting these racks from a fellow Suzuki rider in San Luis Potosi. He sold it to us, modified it a little bit. These plates come with the Rhinowalk bags, which we got on Amazon Mexico. And I also got this top box from Amazon Mexico as well. It's I think it's a 45-liter lockable top box. And yeah, I just, from all my travels, knew that this was a good option to go with, just because you can easily lock your helmet in there. But I also got these locks for the helmet as well, these code locks. But also when you're doing grocery runs, you can just throw your groceries in here instead of carrying them around, and it's a lot easier. And it's just like one little screw at the bottom here. So it was a bit cheap. It's plastic, but it's held up, waterproof. Take that screw off, and then it just comes off like that. You can set it down right there. So yeah. So basically, in terms of luggage, another thing I have is a Tusk Top Rack. You can't see it right now because the mounting plate for the top box is on top of it. But that was one of the first things I did. I added a top rack, and these side racks are relatively new, cheap ones, Chinese ones from Amazon Mexico, but they have worked phenomenally, and we've loaded them with a lot of weight in these bags, and they've performed just fine. Another thing in terms of luggage capacity is this custom-made, I think it's like an 18-inch PVC pipe tool tube that my dad helped me make and mount back in Canada. And I've basically just got my tire changing tools in there, some gloves, and that's about it, with an Oatly gripper cap that just tightens on. Everyone thinks it's like an exhaust, so I mean, I've never had anything stolen out of here. It's been great. All right, so that's pretty much everything in terms of luggage I'm traveling with at the moment. In terms of protection, first thing I did was get these case savers installed on each side. Super useful in case of a drop. You're not gonna puncture any of your cases. I also have this plastic Acerbis skid plate, which was also one of the first things I installed. You really want a skid plate, the bare minimum. I also have an oil cooler guard. a steel, or I think it's aluminum, oil cooler guard. You don't want to puncture your oil cooler, so that's very handy. In terms of protection, what else I have is these Barkbusters Storm handguards. It came with the bike when I bought it, and they're basically being held on by zip ties at this point. I mean, this bike has been through a lot, and but they're still working, and they still protect me from wind chill and branches and all that stuff. So really, really good to have. As well as when I first got this bike, I purchased a Bajaworx Rally windshield, which has been amazing. It's sleek, it's efficient, it's stylish, and it keeps the wind off my chest and my chin, and it keeps the rain and water from mud puddles off my electronics. So it's super useful, super versatile, and I love it. All right, now let's talk about electronics. There's not a lot of electronics that come stock on a DR650, but there's a few things I've added to just improve the quality of life traveling on this bike full time. Number one is navigation. So I purchased a Garmin Zumo XT quite a while ago. I had to replace it once when I was in Mexico because it died on me, but it's been pretty good for navigation. You do need to download Central American maps if you're going to leave Mexico, otherwise it is not going to direct you correctly. Also in Mexico, I picked up this, it's kind of like a ram mount, but it has like shock absorption, so it's better for bumpy roads without damaging your phone's camera. And I just have this on just mounted to the handlebars, and I just put my phone in there when I need Google Maps, like a quick Google Maps navigation, or just have easy access to my phone, change music, that kind of stuff. It's been really nice, I love it. Another thing I purchased before this trip was an MD5 dash, which is basically just 2 USB ports to charge your phone or your GoPro batteries, things like that. Definitely having a way to charge your devices while riding is super important, especially when you're going through long stretches of road and you need navigation. Also, in terms of electronics, I installed the Oxford heated grips back in Canada before I left, and they still work perfectly. They've been phenomenal, keeping my hands warm when I'm riding on super cold days, and I'm super grateful that I did them. And finally, the last thing I've done in terms of electronics was installed this barrel cable connector for, compressor pumps, really. Even though I don't have a compressor pump on me anymore, I have a bike pump because my compressor pump shit the bed a long time ago. I did install this for that one purpose, and it's just hardwired to the battery. So that is all the electronics on the bike. So also in terms of electronics, and to save me a little bit of juice on the stator, is I put in a Cyclops LED bulb in the headlight, and it makes a huge difference when you're riding at night or in low light conditions. And I highly recommend making that upgrade over the stock light. Same thing with the rear. I put in a DR200 taillight with an LED bulb. It's a lot more sleek, streamlined look, and it saves juice because it uses less power. And I also got rid of the rear fender, chopped that off, and I mean, this license plate is being held on with duct tape right now, but the bracket is just a smaller bracket now, and it's a lot more streamlined, and it prevents it from smacking the rear tire when you're hitting some serious bumps and ruts and potholes and stuff like that. All right, next up is comfort mods. There's quite a few things I've done to make the bike more comfortable for me when traveling, and the first thing I did was upgraded that stock seat, and I picked myself up a Sergeant seat, which has just been phenomenal. It's been so good. I used to have a sheepskin pad on top of it, but with time and wear, I had to throw it out, and I'm looking for a new one. But the Sergeant seat on its own is just 10 times better than the 2x4 stock seat. You definitely don't want to be riding long hours on a stock DR seat. Because I'm 6'1", another thing I did to open up the cockpit was I got lowered foot pegs and a lowered brake pedal to compensate for the lowered foot peg. So this is about a 2-inch drop, and it just is night and day difference. Just those 2 inches, what they make. So if you're a tall person getting a DR, I highly recommend getting lowered foot pegs and a lowered brake pedal. It will make standing up and just riding the bike, much more enjoyable. So one of the best and most important upgrades I've done to this bike was the Acerbis 5.6 gallon gas tank, I believe it is. 21 liters, I think. I get about 400 kilometers when I'm lightly loaded, maybe 350 if I'm fully loaded. And it's been more than enough to go through any stretch that I've traveled on this trip so far, getting to Guatemala. And I think the biggest stretch is a section in Baja between Guerrero Negro and the next town on the Pacific side. But it's just been great. The only thing I hate about it is the gas cap is terrible. It's always a struggle to put it back on. You really have to have the technique dialed in, and it took me a while to get that. So with the gas tank, I'm also running 3 filters. I'm running a filter inside the gas tank, like one of those mesh cloths that just catches the debris that initially comes in. And then I have the built-in filter to the petcock. And then I have one more inline fuel filter just to catch any last debris that tries to make it through. And surprisingly, even with 3 filters, I've had to clean the carburetor. I've had to get the carburetor cleaned twice because grit or debris has gotten in. But it's a super simple job, and most people can do it themselves on the side of the road. That's why the DR is so amazing. Also, to make maintenance easier on the bike, originally I put on this T-Rex center stand, which is very good, and it's really nice if you need to do maintenance like lubricating the chain or even changing a flat tire on the side of the road, which I've had to do in the middle of nowhere in Mexico. So it's come in really handy, and I highly suggest having a center stand or at least some kind of peg or pole that you could prop one of the tires up on. So one of the biggest, most expensive, and most recent upgrades I've done to this bike was the suspension. Everyone talks about doing the suspension on the DR650. When I left Canada, I really didn't have a problem. I mean, yeah, it wasn't the best, it was soft, but I was able to do any trail, go anywhere with the bike. It didn't really affect me. I was packed pretty light. However, if you watch some of my videos on my channel, you understand that I spent a few months traveling with my partner, Meg, when her bus broke down in San Luis Potosi. And so that's when we upgraded the luggage capacity, and we were a lot more loaded, especially with 2 people. So that's when I really seriously considered doing the suspension. I found a shop, Dynamic Shocks in Xochimilco of Mexico City, and just did an amazing job upgrading the suspension with Racetech front and rear springs, as well as gold valves, and dialed it in for our weight. And I'm not going to be traveling with Meg for the next few months at least, so I'm going to have to kind of see if I can get that adjusted again, but it has made a huge difference in terms of, you know, when we go over speed bumps, or topes they call them, and you know, braking really hard, going downhill, taking corners. Like, it's just been an amazing upgrade. I highly suggest doing suspension if you can afford it, but it is not necessary, especially if you're traveling solo. I really don't think it's necessary. It's only if you can afford it and you want that extra performance and you plan on doing a lot of hard, rugged trails. We did the suspension because we just added so much more weight, and because of that weight, braking power was kind of on my mind. And so I had Gabriel, once he was doing the suspension, I also had him install a steel braided brake cable for the front, which is night and day difference. It is just so much more braking strength just from that simple replacement, and I highly recommend it. If you're traveling with weight and you need that extra stopping power, go with a steel braided brake cord. Very, very good. Also, in terms of performance, I've been obviously changing out tires when I can, and the rear one is due for changing pretty soon here, but it's lasted me a long time. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's a Michelin, I can't see the actual model, but it's a Michelin tire. It actually says tubeless, but it's got a tube in there. And I got it in Baja, and it's still got tread. And it's been an amazing tire. I think it's like a 50-50 tire, but it's been great. As for the front, this is more recent. I got it in San Luis Potosi. It's a Pirelli MT60, and it's also been really good. It's a 70-30 off-road tire, I believe. And it's, I mean, both tires have just performed great. I've ridden sand with them, fully loaded, mud, rocky trails. It's been great. Highway, everything. But when it comes to tires, beggars can't be choosers, especially when you're in Latin America and you're kind of at the mercy of what is available. So I'll just take what I can get. If it's 100% road tire, if it's 100% off-road tire, I'll get what will fit. And really, it's not that big of a deal. People stress over their tire, you know, their tire ratio. Oh, I need a 50-50 tire, 70-30. But really, when you're traveling around the world to South America, you just get what you can get. What haven't I done? I haven't really done anything to the carburetor. I haven't upgraded the carb to any of those, you know, TM40 or whatever. I haven't changed the gear ratio. I'm still running the stock sprockets. I changed the chain once, but other than that, stock sprockets, stock carburetor, stock exhaust. And I mean, you can save a little bit of weight, you can get a better sound, maybe a little bit more performance, changing out the exhaust, but it's not something I've wanted to sink my money into or invest the time into, and I didn't feel like it was necessary. And so this is what I've been traveling on for the last you know, year and 8 months, year and 10 months, I can't remember. I left in September 2023, and I've been living on the road for like 490 days or something, staying in Airbnbs, camping, living in a bus for a while. It's just been an amazing adventure, and like I said, I'm currently in Antigua, Guatemala, and in about a week I'm heading off to El Salvador, and then just gonna blitz through the Central American countries, get to Panama, because they don't give you that much time on your visa. You get 3 months to do, you know, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua. My advice, if you get a DR, if you're looking for the most essential modifications for long-term travel, and I had to choose just 3, I would upgrade the seat, I would upgrade the gas tank, and I would add some kind of electronics dashboard where you can, you know, add some kind of USB charger, basically. That would be my top 3 that comes to mind. You know, something to charge your devices with, a comfortable seat for long hours, and fuel capacity. So I hope you enjoyed my tour. Sorry if it was all over the place. It's the first time I've done like a bike tour, and I plan to do a bunch more kind of videos like this. The next one will be kind of what I'm packing, what I'm bringing with me long term, and stuff like that. But yeah, thanks for watching my video, and I hope you get some value out of it, and I hope you guys have a great trip of your own.